PulseX too, do you think in 6 months from now, a year from now, is it still just the biggest liquidity place, or do you think there's single sign staking, limit orders, other improvements, other features, farms, DAO voting, all that stuff, or do you think it's just, hey, this is place for liquidity, for trading? It is the premier DEX of PulseChain, and everything else is just, hey, it's most of the time everyone just uses PulseX as pools. Like, how do you think that shakes out?
Well, if we break it down, okay, what you'll see is that the largest pool on PulseChain is PulseX paired to Pulse, both created by Richard Hart. Of course, he created PulseX as well. So it's understandable that the largest pool of those is right there on PulseX. And then there's quite a bit of DAI in there and some stable coins paired to those things as well. When you start branching off into these other DEXs, whether it's what the 9-inch guys are doing or it's what the PHUX guys are doing, you actually see some up-and-coming tokens that are choosing exclusively to launch on these other DEXs because the swap ratios are better, because the yield that the LP providers get is better. And that's okay, because if those things are at all anywhere on the blockchain paired back to Pulse or PulseX or DAI, okay, there's still going to be arbitrage or trade events that happen back and forth to PulseX. PulseX hosts the biggest liquidity because it has the most Pulse and PulseX in its pools. But you will find other tokens that launch elsewhere, and that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, is that the secret sauce in a way of PulseChain in general, is having so much liquidity, Pulse, if Pulse and nothing else, and then that tide as the main pair to so many other coins, when it goes up, all the rising tide lifts all ships. Yeah, that sort of effect.
Yeah, so I got into a conversation with a guy earlier about this. Jay, in the community, a lot of people know a guy by the name of Jay. We were talking about Bitcoin and how when Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. The largest liquidity coin in existence, if it all paired to anything else, if it goes up, everything goes up with it. Since so many things are paired to Bitcoin, Bitcoin can go up. You can have you can launch a token that nobody's trading in. There's zero volume. The price hasn't moved at all. And then one day you say, I'm going to pair this to Bitcoin. Okay. And you create a liquidity pool and you pair it to Bitcoin. And then you still sit back and watch. Now your coin goes up and down with Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up 20%, your coin might go up 20%. And even if there's other pools that you're paired to, stable coins or whatever, let's take Hex, for example. People say that Hex is decorrelated or largely decorrelated because it's largely paired back to stable coins. Kind of true, kind of not true. Okay, if it was only paired to stable coins, it would be completely decorrelated. However, it's not. There are pairings on some exchanges and such, or wrapped ETH or wrapped Bitcoin. There's pairings that exist elsewhere. So in those pools, when Bitcoin goes up, there now becomes an arbitrage opportunity. First off, the value of that Hex in that pool goes up equally with that Bitcoin. Okay? But then also, the other pools balance out very quickly, oftentimes with bots, because now the Bitcoin in those pools is more expensive than the pools where it was paired back straight to stable coins. And what happens is people who have created bots simply go in and they purchase that Hex from those pools and they go dump it in the Bitcoin pool it's paired to, the wrapped Bitcoin pool, and they balance out. So let's say Bitcoin goes up 10%. Okay, depending on how heavy that pool is to Hex, after that arbitrage, Hex may only go up 5%. instead of that 10% because of the way the arbitrage works. You take some over here, you dump it back in this pool, makes that pool go down, this pool up. It's like a teeter-totter. If it was if the only pool in existence was Bitcoin goes up 10%, Hex would go up 10%. But it's not equal. So Bitcoin goes up 10%, Hex might go up 5% or 3% or 4%. And there's times where it goes up more just because of other speculative things that are going around in the community, right? Richard makes a tweet, or there's some cool news about something else Richard is building or something new that's happening. And then people buy it for those reasons as well. But there's absolutely correlation back to Bitcoin and ETH. Absolutely.